So what we're talking about, not everyone is gonna relate with, and maybe not everyone is gonna like. So let's just have the conversation. I want us to talk about money, and I wanna reflect on some of my financial mistakes that I did in my early 20s and where I am now. This is not for you if you are working in corporate. It's also not for you if you have like a Monday to Friday kind of job. It's not for you. I'm honest. I know myself and I know what I'll be adding value to. So I lived in a different city, and during this time I was earning say 10,000 up to like 12,000 rands. I wasn't doing a job I had studied for, but I was working and earning this money because I was in sales. So that's great. Sales have big money. So the reason I'm saying that this conversation may not necessarily be for a person who's in corporate is because you are already in your stipend, you're earning that kind of money. So for you, this isn't money. So let me talk to regular people like me who perhaps have studied and not finding work in the points of employment where they've studied in, or who have not studied further after matric but are working and are earning a regular income and are trying to figure out ways to make their money work for them. This conversation is for you. So let's talk. So during this time when I was staying in this big city and earning this money, what I never did was save. I could never save, I could never invest. One, I didn't know what investing was at the time. I was not informed about it. I did not have the proper education on what investing is. When I thought investing, I thought people who have big money and have money to put aside. So I always had it at the back of my mind that maybe when I earn about 20,000 and up, I would then have money to invest. That's what I thought, right? Second thing about saving was not ideal for me at the time, because when I would save is I had this bank account that I could create a sub-bank or a sub account in it where I would move money from my normal savings account into this account. However, whenever my money ran low, I went to this sub account, moved money back into my savings so that I could use it whenever I needed to use it. So this was not really working out for me. If, however, you are in corporate and you are earning big money, you're looking for ways to make more money, or you're looking for ways to become better with your money, I do suggest you follow people like Nicollet, Mashile. Those are the kinds of people that you might relate better with. I may not be that person at this point in my life. So let's have the conversation. So this morning I woke up, got along with my day, and something triggered me. I started to remember myself at the age of 21, and I was living good. I was having a good life. I stayed in Joburg at the time, and I was working for Microsoft, and I was doing sales at Microsoft, so I was doing pretty okay. However, when it was time for me to move back home, which is in the Eastern Cape PE, I came back with only my bag. So what happened to my money? So during that time, what I did was that I rented an apartment. Well, firstly, when I moved there, I moved to family friends. Then I had to move out and be on my own. So I rented an apartment and I paid rent that I could not afford. In my journey with money, I have found that money is directly linked to the version of myself I see myself as. Yes. The version of myself I see myself as. My bank account right now is a direct reflection of how I see myself. My status in debt is a direct reflection of how I see myself. I know this is an uncomfortable truth to get to and an uncomfortable conversation, but we need to have it so that we can know and be better as people. If I viewed myself living in this apartment that I lived in that I could not afford, as a person who made it in life, then I shopped in shops where people made it in life shopped at. This was not ideal for me because I did not have made it yet. I didn't make it. I'm still trying to make it, so I should have not been there. So I worked for this company and it was great. I earned money that could afford me to live and also be able to send money at home. Looking back now at the decisions I made at the time, I would have not made certain decisions that I've made, but we're going to share on that now. One of the decisions that I would have not made was to live in the place that I lived in. I lived in an area that had young professionals. So these were people who are young graduates who are working in the spaces that they are educated in. I was not one of these people, but I lived with them. I lived with them because I wanted, I guess, a sense of belonging and to feel as though I was doing something right with my life. I had no business living there, so I lived there. Therefore, the rent was for those people. So I put myself under that pressure where I afforded, or rather I paid rent that I could not afford. The second thing that I did that I should have never done was to shop in places that I had no business in shopping in, dress in places I had no business dressing in. What this looks like for me is that I, at the time, would buy shoes that costed a lot of money. I don't want to get into that. They costed a lot of money, and there were shoes that I could afford that were beautiful as well that I could have opted for. But I opted for this specific brand because I connected with the brand, or rather, the version of myself I'm trying to become connected with the brand. And I would then buy these shoes, and there was no need for that. So it was a series of all these decisions and all these mistakes. And including this was that when I say I had to send money at home, I did not send a huge amount of money from my salary at home. I sent an enough amount that would have still allowed me to live life and still save and still do all these things. And I found that in my mind, now that I look back, I thought that I was really sending a huge amount of money at home. I thought that some of the decisions I was making at the time, or the reason why I was doing things the way I did them at the time, that it was because of I was sending money at home. And honestly, for me, I'm not going to talk about black tax because black tax for me right now, with the understanding I have, I don't consider taking care of my parents as black tax. That's just me. I don't consider it that. I consider it that I'm privileged enough and I'm in a position enough financially that I can take care of my family and assist where I can. So I don't relate with black tax because of that. But fine. At the time, however, because I was younger and immature, I looked at this and thought, oh, this is such a burden. If I didn't have to send this much money at home, I'd be able to do much more. But that wasn't true. That wasn't the case because of my mind had not been renewed at the time. Even if I did not send that much money at home, I would have still managed to spend and squander that money in other places, right? Another thing I discovered that I had to pay up debt that I created when I was at college. So in my teen years, I finished school when I was 17. So in my teen years, while I was at college, I got into debt. How did I do this? You know those people that come in on college and then they set up nice banners and things like that, and then they call you guys and they tell you, hey, come to our company, you get this, you get that. I fell into that trap. I joined this company at the time and I opened up an account and I went to go take clothes and things like that and never went back to bother paying the company. The thing with that is I didn't realize then what I know now. I didn't realize that the debt was not going to disappear. Number two, it was going to accumulate in interest, and that later in my life it would prevent me from many other things that I'm supposed to get and I couldn't get because I entangled myself in debt before time. So when I got to my 20s now and I was now working in this big city, and I was looking for a phone. I remember the time I had a phone and I needed an upgrade, or rather a better phone, because the phone I was having was broken. And I applied for a contract phone. I could afford a phone based on my income. However, based on the books of the credit bureau, I couldn't afford the phone. The book said that I had a low, a weak paying, what was the statement again? They didn't say I'm a bad creditor, but they said I'm a slow paying creditor, something along those lines. because the debt had been with me for so many years that it created that name for me with the credit bureau. So what am I saying? During that time, while this was happening, I could now not afford a phone that I'm supposed to afford based on my income at the time now. I couldn't afford it based on decisions I did before. So that's when I learned delayed gratification, that I needed to wait. I needed to learn how to wait. So I remember for 2 months or a month, what I did, I found out, I contacted the credit bureau, contacted the company that I had taken clothes from, and asked them how much I owed them, what was the interest, what I needed to pay. They told me, I paid the money up, and that was done. However, it wasn't done as in done, though that was paid up and that was done and I had a paid up later. I still have the status on my name with the credit bureau that I needed to remove from my name so that I could be able to afford things that I wanted. So that I would like to share on that I can remember at this moment was even how after the months where I cleared my name and did all of these things, I'm still in my early 20s and I got the phone, I still managed to put myself under debt again. And this time around, it was not in clothes, but it was in now overdrafts and credit cards. So this is because of, at the time, say I'm going to make an example, I've got 500 left from my income and I'm trying to, let me make an illustration. So I'm trying to buy a phone and the phone is 500 rands. But I also need a washing machine and the washing machine is also 500 rands. So what I would do is not look at the opportunity cost, but no, I will get there and I will buy both of them, meaning that one would fall into the 500 rands that I have to use at the time and the other would then fall into the credit card or the overdraft, and therefore my bank would now overdraft if it's the overdraft, and I would pay more interest at the end of the month when they deduct money, their monthly bank charges. I would end up paying way more money than I should, or alternatively now I would pay on overdraft fees that I did not necessarily need to pay for had I decided to wait. So I would then find out later on that, look, if you use this 500 rand this month to perhaps get the phone, and then the next month you get another 500 rand to get the washing machine, you would not be in this mess. So we're cleaning up the closet. I'm being honest with you. As I told you, I'm not hiding anything, and I'm speaking to the level that me and you are in. Remember, there are no corporate people here, there are no professionals here, they are gone. It's just us regular people. So what I discovered when the time carried on, now that I'm in my late 20s, is that money is directly connected to how I see myself. My money is directly connected to what I see. So the fact that I had delayed gratification, I could not wait to buy something, I wanted to buy it now, was directly connected to how I see myself, because I saw myself as a person who had all these things that she wanted. I saw myself as a person who lived in the area that I lived in at the time. I saw myself as the person who afforded the things that I wanted at the time. Yet the reality of things was that I was not that person. The reality of things was that I'm still building up to becoming that person. Now that I look back, I do wish that I had held back on some of the things that I got into and worked towards becoming that person practically. So what then would that look like? It would look like I would have gotten more information of what investing is, what it looks like, what saving is, and what it looks like. And now a few years later, I would have probably become what I was aspiring to at the time. So learning to live within my means and being okay with what my means look like. That's the first thing. So money, saying that money directly reflects who I am is looking at money and saying, yes, this is the idea of who I am. This is the idea of the person I'm trying to become, but I'm not that person yet. So how do I use what I have now to become the person I'm trying to become? Therefore, I built on that, right? So that was the first thing. The second thing was that money, there's a parable in the scriptures. It's in the book of Matthew 13, and it speaks about how the farmer, that's my dog breathing, by the way. It speaks about how the farmer plants his seed. And there's a part where it says that the seed fell on ground, but then this ground was shallow. And it continues to say that when it fell on this shallow ground, the seed grew, and when it grew, the sun hit the plant, and the plant died because the roots were not deep. So I had to then realize what that means for me when it comes to finances. So I have to connect money to an emotional state, because if I just set systems and I say, okay, I'm going to save 50 rands every week or every month, and there's no real reason as to why I'm saving, I'm going to move the money like I did. I'm going to move it from the sub account to the main account so that I can use it. But if I have a plan in mind as to why I'm saving this money and connecting it to an emotion, so I'm saving this 50 rand because December I want to buy my brother a sneaker, right? Or I want to book my big brother a holiday. So I'm going to save X amount of money. I'm going to save 50 rand every month. I'm going to save 1,000 every month. So I save this money for a reason connected to my emotions. Therefore, doing it continually every month, I'm doing it from a place that means that I am connecting to an emotion. I'm connecting to a place of pride. I'm connecting to a place of love. I'm connecting to a place of reason. And if I do it that way, then this becomes easier for me. And I don't touch that money because the person it's connected to and the emotions it's connected to, those things are deep roots. Those are deep roots, so that the conditions, if my conditions change and I do need extra money as the month continues, or if I didn't use money well as the month continues, I don't touch that money because the roots are deep. Because I know if I touch it, then I delay back what I'm trying to do for this person or what I'm trying to achieve. So every single cent must have a name. Why am I saving this money? Who am I saving it for? What am I saving it for? It must be connected to a name. It must be connected to an emotion. Because for us as human beings, we are emotional beings. And if something is connected to an emotional state or an emotional thing that I'm trying to achieve, it's easier for us to pursue that thing, right? And the last point that I've learned about money, not only is money reflecting how I see myself, not only money should be connected to an emotional feeling, money matters. Every single amount matters. Because in this parable, it continues to say, one of the grounds it fell on was good ground. It continues to say this ground produced 40-fold, 60-fold, and 100-fold, right? So what this means is that each and every single amount matters. What we can only be entrusted now by God, or rather even in our workplaces, even in any area, even in our businesses, we can only be entrusted now with an income that we can grow. We can be entrusted with an income, we can be entrusted with a position that we can serve to its full capacity. And sometimes we may not grow in places, we may not grow in business, we may not grow in all of these things simply because of how our minds work about the place, our minds work about the ground, our minds work about the amount of money. Every single amount matters. 50 rand matters, 10 rand matters, 5 rand matters, and from those amounts, big amounts can come. How I use that amount, how I grow that amount, how I make sure I maximize myself on that account, or that amount rather, it matters, because that is what will determine if the next season or the next time I will be entrusted with more. So those are the things I've learned about money. Hope you enjoyed that. It's just 3 points. The first one is money. We use money according to the vision we have of ourselves. If the vision you have of yourself is high, how you use your money will matter, because now you will have an understanding that you are casting a vote. You're casting a vote like they would do when it's political parties and they're trying to get our attention. The political party that wins is not a political party that receives one vote, but it's a political party that overall, when they calculate and tally up the votes, this is the political party that has received most votes, because the people that voted for this party connected to the manifesto of this party. So what in your mind you are creating about yourself, and the vision you have of yourself, and the version of yourself you're aspiring to, will be determined, if you achieve that or not financially, is determined by the votes that you are casting. Because there will be moments where when the elections happen, there are moments where some people will vote for opposition parties. That's okay. So there will be moments where you'll buy a bag that you don't need, you'll eat out when you don't need to, you'll go to a date you don't need to go to. Those moments will happen. That's okay, as long as you remember what party you want to win, as long as you remember what version of yourself you want to come out there and win, what version of yourself you want to come out to the world. When you remember that, even when you voted against that person, when you tally up the votes at the end of the day, you'll discover that more votes went to the version of yourself you're trying to become, because we vote each and every day with each and every decision. When you choose to make coffee at home instead of buying it at work, that's a vote. When you're choosing to make a lunchbox at home instead of buying lunch at work, that's a vote. When you are choosing to opt for making a budget that, okay, I want to buy some clothes this month, but I don't want to spend more than 1,000 rands, that's a vote. Or rather, when you go to the mall because your friends are shopping, you decide to shop, that's a vote as well. So you are choosing each and every time, each and every day, what vote you are casting for. Are you casting the vote towards the best version of yourself, or are you casting the vote towards the version of yourself that cannot understand delayed gratification? That's point number one. Point number two is that money should be connected to our emotions. Money, when we understand our emotions, we understand money. Always set a goal. Say to yourself, I'm saving 5 rand. Why am I saving 5 rand? Connected to a goal that will be close to your heart. That is what has helped me as well. And the third thing is that each and every amount matters. Like the person who is the farmer in Matthew 13, who was planting along the ground and then it fell on good ground. So it's not the amount that matters. Saving and investing don't start because of I'm now making X amount. They start because I've made a decision that they would start. They start because I've made a decision that I will nip that pocket over there, but then I would open this up right now. They start because of, if I'm earning, say, 12,000 that I was earning at the time, I'm going to tell myself I earn 10,000 rand and work with the 10,000, meaning that all my things come from the 10,000, whether it's I'm helping at home, whether it's I'm paying for a car, whether it's I'm paying for rent and all of these things, but all these things will come from that 10,000. That means now I need to sit back and look at my expenses, look at what I need to change in my expenses for that to come to pass. Hope you enjoyed this. Love you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. Be blessed, beloved. Mwah.